Admiral Kim Taho pressed his palm against the cold metal of the observation deck window. The earth below looked different now, wrapped in that strange blue glow that made everything feel safe and trapped at the same time. 3 years had passed since the aliens came with their gifts and promises, but he still remembered the day when Earth's skies belonged only to humans. "Look at that thing," Dr. Park Soyoung said as she walked up beside him. She pointed at the energy shield covering their planet. "It's beautiful and horrible at the same time, like a cage made of light." Taeho knew what she meant. The Hegemony Coalition had arrived with ships bigger than cities, speaking words of peace and protection. They called humans a young species that needed guidance. They offered Earth membership in their galactic family, complete with the same shield technology that protected hundreds of other worlds. "We're safe now," the alien ambassadors had said. "War is a thing of the past. Your people can focus on higher pursuits." But safety felt a lot like being in prison when you couldn't leave and couldn't fight back. "Commander." Lee Minho's voice broke through the quiet of the observation deck. "Admiral, the weekly report just came in. All member worlds are reporting normal status. Everything is peaceful across the galaxy." "Of course it is," Park muttered. "Hard to have wars when nobody remembers how to fight." Taeho walked to his desk and pulled out an old datapad. On it were files that the Hegemony advisors called primitive and unnecessary. Battle plans from World War III. Weapons designs from the Mars Rebellion. Tactical manuals written in human blood across 1,000 conflicts. All of it was now considered worthless by their alien protectors. The Admiral remembered his grandfather's stories about the old days, when humans fought for every inch of space, every breath of air, every chance at survival. Those stories seemed like fairy tales now in this perfect, peaceful galaxy, down on Earth's surface. General Choi Ju-won stood in what used to be South Korea's most important military base. The missile silos were empty now, their doors welded shut by order of the Hegemony Cultural Development Committee. Her soldiers spent their days directing traffic and helping tourists, their weapons training reduced to once-a-month historical demonstrations. Captain Yoon Dae-soon approached her with a tablet in his hands. He looked uncomfortable, like he always did when delivering bad news. "General, the cultural advisors sent another message. They want us to turn the old missile storage areas into art galleries. They think it would be symbolically powerful to show how far humanity has come." Ji-won felt her hands clench into fists. She had been a soldier for 20 years, had fought in 3 different conflicts before the aliens arrived. Now she was basically a museum curator for humanity's violent past. "What did you tell them?" she asked. "I told them we'd consider it." Yoon replied. "What else could I say?" The general looked around at the base that had once housed 5,000 active soldiers. Now it held maybe 200 people, most of them doing paperwork or maintenance. The shooting ranges were silent. The training fields had been turned into gardens. Even the war memorials had been updated to focus on peace rather than sacrifice. "Sometimes I wonder what would happen if the shields failed," Ji-won said quietly. "The Hegemony says that's impossible," Yoon answered. "Failed in 10,000 years. 10,000 years, Ji-won repeated. "That's a long time to forget how to defend yourself." Back on the orbital station, Dr. Park was running through her daily reports on the various alien species humanity now lived alongside. The Keth were peaceful plant-eaters who spent their time composing music. The Velthari were philosophers who could discuss the meaning of existence for weeks without stopping. The Zarki were builders who created beautiful cities, but had never seen war. All of them had been elevated by the Hegemony at different times over the past few thousand years. All of them had given up their weapons, their armies, their ability to fight in exchange for perfect safety. "It's like a galaxy full of children," Park told Taeho. "They're all so innocent, so trusting. They really believe nothing bad can ever happen to them." "Maybe they're right," Taeho said, but he didn't sound convinced. "Maybe we're the ones who are wrong to worry." "Or maybe," Park said, staring out at the peaceful stars, "we're the only ones who remember that the universe isn't always kind to those who can't defend themselves." That night, as Taeho lay in his quarters, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming. Call it instinct, call it paranoia, but every soldier knew the feeling of calm before a storm. The galaxy was too quiet, too perfect, too safe. In his dreams, he saw the shields failing and humanity standing alone against the dark. In his dreams, they remembered how to fight. He had no idea how soon those dreams would become reality. The alarm started as a soft beep on Dr. Park So-young's computer. But within minutes, it became a screaming siren that echoed through the orbital station. Not believing what she was seeing, not believing what she was seeing. Veltar Prime, home to 15 billion peaceful Keth, had simply vanished from all communication networks. That can't be right, she whispered, running the scan again. The planet was still there, but it was completely silent. No radio signals, no energy readings, nothing at all. Admiral Kim Tae-ho rushed into the communication center just as the emergency council session began. Holographic figures appeared around the room, alien representatives from across the galaxy, all talking at once, their voices mixed together in a chaos of fear and confusion. Counselor Vexai, a tall blue alien who usually spoke with calm authority, was pacing back and forth. His transparent skin was flashing bright colors that Park had learned meant extreme stress. "This is impossible," he kept saying. Veltar's shields were the strongest in the galaxy. 3 stellar cores powered them. Nothing in the universe can break through our defenses. But engineer Kang Haijin was studying the sensor data from before Veltar went dark. She had been working on Earth's orbital platforms for 2 years, ever since the humans joined the hegemony. Her job was usually boring, just watching peaceful space and making sure nothing disturbed the perfect order of the galaxy. "Admiral!" she called out, her voice tight with worry. "You need to see this right now." Tae-ho walked over to her station, where numbers and charts covered 3 different screens. "What am I looking at?" "The energy readings from Veltar just before they went silent," Kong explained. "Look at this pattern. Shields didn't get destroyed or broken. They just ... stopped. Like someone flipped a switch and turned them off." "That's impossible," said a voice from the holographic council. "Our shield technology doesn't have an off switch. It's designed to be permanent." But Park was already pulling up historical data on her computer. "Wait," she said. "If someone could turn off the shields, then they could do it to any planet in the galaxy." The next few days proved her right in the worst possible way. Zarki Prime went dark on the 2nd day. The beautiful crystal cities of Nexer fell silent on the 3rd. By the end of the week, 12 worlds had vanished from the Galactic Communication Network. Captain Yoon Dasun had barely slept since the crisis began. He was running between the command center and the communication arrays, trying to coordinate. With hegemony fleets that were desperately attempting to reach the affected systems, "Sir," he reported to Admiral Kim, his face pale with exhaustion. The hegemony sent 3 different fleets to investigate. None of them could even get close to the dead worlds. Their ships just shut down the moment they entered those systems. "Shut down how?" Kim asked. "Everything stops working," Yoon explained. "Engines, weapons, life support, communication. The ships become floating metal boxes. Crews have to be rescued by other vessels." Down on Earth, General Choi Ji-won was experiencing something she hadn't felt in 3 years. The old war room was active again, with officers running between computer stations and communication equipment. Red lights flashed on the galactic map as more and more worlds went silent. "Ma'am," one of her officers called out, "we're getting reports of survivors from some of the affected worlds. They're calling the attackers devourers." "What do the survivors say happened?" Ji-won asked. "Strange machines appeared in their systems," the officer replied. "Ancient-looking ships that don't match any known design. They don't attack the planets directly. They just make the shields disappear, and then something else comes and ... devours everything." Engineer Kong had been working without sleep, trying to understand how the enemy was destroying shield technology that had protected the galaxy for 10,000 years. "It's not destruction," she explained to anyone who would listen. "It's like the technology just forgets how to work. The shields don't get broken. They just stop being shields." Dr. Park was studying the few blurry images that survivors had managed to send before their worlds went dark. The machines looked old, older than any civilization in the current galaxy, and they moved in perfect formation, like they were following programming that was written eons ago. "These aren't invaders," she realized. "They're weapons." Someone built these things a long time ago and sent them out into the void. Weapons designed to do what? Admiral Kim asked. To end the age of shields, Park replied. Ow. To force the galaxy back into a time when civilizations had to actually defend themselves. The irony was bitter. The hegemony had created perfect peace by making war impossible. Now something was making peace impossible by taking away their defenses, as if the universe wanted to prove Park's point. Every alarm on the orbital station began screaming at once. Through the observation windows, they could see Earth's protective shield flickering like a dying light bulb. All stations, Admiral Kim announced over the communication system, Earth's shields are failing. Prepare for complete system shutdown. The blue glow that had protected humanity for 3 years pulsed once, twice, then disappeared completely. For the first time since the aliens arrived, Earth was naked against the dark of space. General Jiwon looked at the dead shield generators and smiled grimly. Well, she said to Captain Yoon, I guess we're about to find out if humans remember how to fight. When Earth's protective shield disappeared, every alien in the galaxy expected the same thing that had happened to dozens of other worlds. They expected silence, darkness, and death. Instead, they got something that shocked them more than any weapon ever could. They got humans acting like humans. General Joy Ji-won stood in the command center that had been quiet for 3 years, watching her officers rush between computer stations like they had never stopped being soldiers. The dust covers were being pulled off weapon systems. Emergency lights were flashing. Radio chatter filled the air as bases across Earth woke up from their forced sleep. Ma'am, Captain Yoon Dezong said, reading from a tablet as he walked beside her. All military installations are coming back online. The missile silos in Korea are operational. The nuclear submarines are surfacing. Even the old orbital defense platforms that we thought were broken are powering up. What about personnel? Yoon asked. Every retired soldier, pilot, and officer is reporting for duty, Yoon replied. The recruitment centers have lines around the block. It's like the whole planet remembered it was at war. Meanwhile, Dr. Park So-young was dealing with a very different problem. Refugee ships from destroyed worlds were arriving at Earth every few hours, filled with aliens who had never seen violence in their entire lives. They kept asking the same questions over and over. When do the evacuation ships arrive? Asked a tall Keth ambassador, his plant-like skin trembling with fear. Where are the safe colonies? Why aren't you running? Park tried to explain, but the concepts didn't translate well. We're not running because we're going to fight. Fight, alien looked confused. But you have no shields? Fighting without shields is suicide, maybe, Park said. But it's better than waiting to die. Admiral Kim Tae-ho was in his element for the first time in years. The tactical displays showed him everything he needed to know about Earth's defenses. Ships that had been museum pieces were being pulled from storage. Weapons factories that had been turned into art studios were retooling for war production. Engineer Kang, he called out. How long until we have full defensive capability? Kang Haijin looked up from her computer, her fingers flying over the keyboard. The kinetic railguns will be online in 6 hours. Nuclear missiles are already armed and ready. The orbital platforms are at 60% power and climbing. What about the space-based defense grid? That's the beautiful part, Kang said with a grin. The aliens never made us remove it. It just made us turn it off. Everything is still there, just waiting to wake up. Commander Lee Minho burst through the command center doors, his face flushed with excitement and terror. Admiral, long-range sensors have detected 3 ships entering the outer solar system. They match the energy signatures of the Devourer. Vessels, Kim felt his heart start beating faster. This was it. It's the moment that would decide whether humanity survived or joined the list of silent worlds. HMNE emergency protocol says we should immediately broadcast our surrender, Lee continued. They want us to offer no resistance and hope for mercy. General Ji-won, who had been listening to the conversation, stepped forward. Her voice was quiet but carried the weight of authority that came from years of command. Hegemony protocol can go straight to hell. Signal all units, weapons are free to engage. The aliens in the command center, refugees and hegemony representatives alike, stared at the humans in disbelief. One of them, a blue-skinned Valtheri counselor, spoke up in a shaking voice. We're going to fight them? Without shields? Impossible. No one has successfully resisted the Devourers. No one has tried, Admiral Kim replied, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The battle began when the Devourer ships entered the orbit of Mars. They moved with the confidence of machines that had never faced real resistance. For Earth, like they owned the solar system. They didn't expect the nuclear missiles that came screaming up from Earth's surface. They didn't expect the railgun rounds fired from the orbital platforms. They didn't expect the human fighter ships that swarmed around them like angry insects. For 17 minutes, space around Earth lit up with explosions and energy beams. The Devourers tried to use whatever technology had destroyed the shields of other worlds. But human weapons were too simple. It's too primitive for their advanced systems to understand or counter. When the shooting stopped, 3 ancient machines floated, in pieces among the debris of human ships that had sacrificed themselves for victory. Dr. Park was the first to receive the impossible news from across the galaxy. Her communication system lit up with messages from every surviving hegemony world. They're all asking the same thing, she told the War Council, her voice filled with amazement. They want to know how we did it. They want us to teach them how to fight. 10,000 years of peace, Admiral Kim said, looking at the strategic map where Earth now showed as the only green light in a galaxy full of red warnings. 10,000 years of forgetting that sometimes the only way to preserve life is to be willing to take it. So what do we do now? General Jawan asked. Kim smiled grimly. We teach them to remember what they used to be before the shields made them soft. The galaxy was about to learn that humans had never forgotten how to bare their teeth. Earth's orbital stations had never been so crowded. Refugee ships from dozens of destroyed worlds floated around the planet like lost children seeking their parents. But these weren't ordinary refugees asking for food and shelter. They were asking for something the galaxy hadn't needed in 10,000 years. They were asking to learn how to fight. General Choi Ji-wen walked through what used to be a peaceful training facility for human peacekeepers. Now it looked like the strangest military academy in the universe. Tall, plant-like Keth were trying to hold rifles with their vine fingers. Short, rock-skinned Zarki were learning how to set up explosive devices. Flying Valthari were practicing aerial combat maneuvers they had never imagined they would need. How are they doing? Juwan asked Captain Yoon Dae-sung, who was carrying a thick folder of training reports. It's interesting, Yoon replied carefully. The Keth are having trouble with firearms because they've never hurt anything in their lives. Some of them cry when they fire their weapons, even at targets. And the others? The Zaraki love explosives a little too much, Yoon said with a worried look. We had to stop one group from trying to blow up an asteroid for practice, and the Valtheri are natural pilots, but they keep asking if there's a way to disable enemy ships without destroying them. Ji-won nodded. Teaching peaceful species how to make war was like trying to teach fish how to climb trees. But they were learning because they had to. In the engineering bays, Kong Haijin was working 80-hour days trying to turn exploration ships into warships. The alien vessels were beautiful, built for speed and discovery, with smooth curves and artistic designs. Now she was bolting human weapons onto them like ugly scars. Their technology is amazing, she explained to Admiral Kim Tae-ho as they walked past a Keth science ship being fitted with missile launchers. These ships can travel faster than anything we've ever built, but they were never designed for fighting. We're basically teaching butterflies how to be wasps. Will it work? Kim asked. Has to work, Kong replied. 'Cause the alternative is extinction. Dr. Park Soyoung had been spending her time in the strangest research project of her career. Instead of studying living aliens, she was examining the remains of dead machines. The Devourer wreckage told a story that made her blood run cold, Admiral, she said, approaching Kim with a data tablet in her hands. I've been working with the hegemony scientists to analyze the Devourer technology. We figured out what they really are. Go on, Kim said. They're not invaders from outside the galaxy, Park explained. They're weapons created by a civilization that lived here long before the current hegemony. This previous civilization fought wars that lasted for thousands of years, until they finally destroyed themselves. What does that have to do with the Devourers? The Devourers were their final weapon, Park continued. Designed to activate after the civilization was gone, to make sure that no future galaxy would make the same mistake of achieving artificial peace through shield technology. Kim felt a chill run down his spine. You're saying someone built these machines specifically to destroy the peaceful galaxy we created? Exactly, Park nodded. The ancient civilization believed that peace without the ability to fight was just a slow form of death. They programmed the Devourers to emerge after 10,000 years and forced the galaxy to remember how to defend itself. Commander Lee Minho's voice interrupted their conversation from the communication center. Admiral, we're getting emergency calls from 17 different systems. The Devourer attacks are speeding up. They're hitting multiple worlds every day now. Kim walked to the strategic display where red dots were spreading across the galactic map like a disease. At this rate, every world in the galaxy would be attacked within months. In the main strategy room, something unprecedented was happening. Human military officers sat beside alien commanders who had never commanded anything more dangerous than a research expedition. They were planning battles using tactics that the aliens were learning as they went. A Valthari general named Kexahal stood up to address the group. His 4 eyes, which used to be soft and philosophical, now carried a hardness that hadn't existed before the war. My people spent our entire history growing gardens and writing poetry, he said in his translated voice. We believed that violence was the mark of primitive species. We looked down on races that still fought wars. He paused, looking directly at General Juwan. Now I understand that we were the primitive ones. We were children playing in a garden. While predators waited in the forest? What are you asking? Juwan replied. Teach us to be human, Kexel said. Teach us to fight when everything seems hopeless. Teach us to stand and face death rather than run from it. Ow. The room fell silent. To be human in this context meant something that none of them had expected. It meant being willing to fight when the odds were impossible. It meant choosing to struggle rather than surrender. Then we'll forge a new kind of galaxy, G1 said finally. One that remembers that real peace can only exist when good people are strong enough to defend it. Outside the windows, alien ships practiced combat formations under human instruction, preparing for battles that would decide whether civilization survived or died. The Nexus system looked like a graveyard of civilizations. Broken ships from the ancient wars floated in the darkness, some so old that their metal had turned to dust. In the center of it all hung the Devourer control station, a massive machine that pulsed with evil energy like a metal heart beating in the void. Admiral Kim Taeho stood on the bridge of the Inchin's Pride, watching the largest fleet in galactic history move toward their final battle. Human ships flew alongside alien vessels that had never been designed for war. Keth's exploration ships bristled with missile launchers. Velthari research vessels carried railguns that looked like metal tumors on their smooth hulls. Zaraki mining ships had been turned into flying bombs, ready to ram the enemy if necessary. All units, this is General Choi. Giwan's voice crackled through the communication system from the flagship. Remember what we taught you. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and don't stop shooting until every machine is nothing but scrap metal. Around the bridge, alien officers worked alongside humans at control stations. A Keth navigator with vine-like fingers plotted attack courses. A Velthari weapons officer with 4 eyes tracked enemy positions. They had all learned to fight in the past few months, but this would be their final test. Engineer Kung Haijin monitored the weapon systems across the entire fleet. All human-designed railguns are online, she reported. The aliens picked up our technology faster than I thought possible. Fear's a good teacher. Dr. Park Soyoung was studying the enemy formation on her scanner screens. What she saw made her heart race with terror. Admiral, the control center is doing something. It's trying to reactivate some kind of shield technology. The same shields that protected the ancient civilizations? Kim asked. Yes, but stronger, Park replied. If it succeeds, we'll be stuck in the same endless war that destroyed the previous galaxy. The Devourers were designed to force this choice, fight forever or surrender and die. Captain Yoon Dae-soon was coordinating the boarding teams that would have to take the control center from the inside. Strike teams are ready. Humans are leading each group, with aliens adapting our tactics to work with their different bodies. The battle began when the Devourer ships detected the approaching fleet. Ancient machines that had slept for eons came to life, moving with mechanical precision toward the Allied forces. They had been programmed to fight the advanced weapons of the old civilization, but they had never faced the simple, brutal tactics that humans had perfected over thousands of years of warfare. Human fighters swarmed around, the Devourer ships like angry bees, too small and fast for the ancient targeting systems to track. Alien vessels used hit-and-run tactics, striking hard and then disappearing before the enemy could respond. The combined fleet fought like a pack of wolves rather than the formal battle lines the machines expected. Direct hit on Devourer formation. 7, reported a Zaraki weapons officer, his rocky skin glowing with excitement. Their ships are breaking apart. Keep firing, Kim ordered. Don't give them time to adapt. The boarding action was the most dangerous part of the plan. Human soldiers led mixed teams of aliens through the corridors of the control station, fighting against mechanical defenders that had been waiting for this moment for 10,000 years. Colonel Yoon led his team through a maze of metal corridors that hummed with ancient power. Behind him, a Keth soldier carried explosives in pouches along his vine arms. A Velthari fighter flew overhead, scouting ahead with her natural ability to see in multiple directions at once. Yoon pointed to a massive chamber filled with glowing crystals. That's the control center. If we can destroy those crystals, the entire Devourer network will shut down. The final explosion lit up the Nexus system like a new star being born. When the light faded, the Devourer control station was gone, and with it, every ancient machine across the galaxy simply stopped working. Commander Lee Minho's voice carried across the fleet communication system, with words that no one had dared to hope for. All Devourer signals have ceased. The galaxy is secure now. In the months that followed, the galaxy rebuilt itself in a way that had never existed before. There were no more shields protecting individual worlds, but there was something stronger. A united defense force made up of species that had learned to fight together. Admiral Kim stood before the new Galactic Defense Council, looking out at representatives from dozens of worlds. We learned that peace isn't the absence of war, he said. Real peace is having the strength to defend what you love, and the wisdom to know when fighting is necessary. Dr. Park delivered her final report to the Council with a warning from history. Ancient civilization fell because they became too much like their weapons. They forgot that strength must be balanced with compassion, that the ability to destroy must be matched with the will to protect. General Choi, now the Supreme Allied Commander, walked through the new training facilities where humans and aliens worked side by side. They were no longer teacher and student, but partners in the defense of their shared galaxy. The shields protected us from danger, she said to Colonel Yoon, as they watched a mixed patrol prepare for departure. But they also protected us from growing stronger. Sometimes the greatest gift is learning that you can survive anything. The galaxy would never again hide behind artificial barriers. Instead, it would be defended by those who had learned that true strength came not from technology, but from the courage to stand together when everything seemed lost.